The Arctic, a frozen, silent frontier, suddenly roars to life as submarines prowl beneath the ice and warplanes scream overhead. But what if NATO attempted the unthinkable, invading Russia not through Europe, but through the Arctic? In this scenario, nukes are off the table. Both NATO and Russia have long eyed the Arctic as the new front line, rich with oil, gas, and vital shipping lanes. NATO's plan would rely on submarines under the ice, US and UK carriers, Canadian and Norwegian Arctic troops, and fleets of icebreakers carving paths through frozen seas. The hope: to bypass Russia's fortified western borders and strike deep into its northern flank. But Russia has spent decades preparing. From Murmansk, home, to the Northern Fleet, Moscow commands submarines, long-range bombers, and S-400 air defenses, turning the Arctic into a fortress. NATO's opening moves would be met immediately by MiG-31 interceptors, swarming Russian submarines, and hypersonic anti-ship missiles. What began as a bold gamble quickly becomes a struggle to survive. To gain an edge, NATO would turn to cyber warfare to blind Russian radar, launch special forces raids on remote Arctic bases, and strike Murmansk to cripple naval power. Yet every mile forward stretches NATO's logistics thinner. Supplies dragged across ice, fleets vulnerable to submarine attacks, and blizzards grounding aircraft. In the Arctic, the environment itself becomes a weapon. From here, three outcomes are possible. First, a NATO breakthrough, with Russia's northern fleet crippled and Allied forces landing on the northern coast. But holding ground across vast, frozen wastelands would be nearly impossible. Second, Russian dominance. If Moscow destroys NATO's fleets early, it goes on the offensive, striking convoys in the North Atlantic and hammering bases in Greenland, Norway, and Alaska, collapsing the invasion before it begins. And third, the most likely outcome, a frozen stalemate where both sides bleed resources endless submarine hunts, bomber patrols, and Arctic skirmishes without a decisive victor. In the end, the Arctic itself may be NATO's greatest enemy, an unforgiving battlefield where cold, distance, and isolation grind down even the strongest forces. The question remains, if such a war ever began, could it stay confined to the ice? Or would the first shots in the Arctic ignite a global conflict that no one could control? If you want to explore more dramatic, what-if military scenarios,